For the presidency of the United States.
Cleveland, last week, home to Republicans. Philadelphia, this week,
our donkey scavenger hunt,
home to Democrats. But every week, this home in Eden Prairie
I was 7 years old when I started.
is home
Just kind of kept going.
to both.
It's a pretty big collection, yeah.
Paul Bankston's 50-cent purchase of this 68 Hubert Humphrey button
Just a kid.
has blossomed over 5 decades to the state's largest collection of political trinkets.
Mark Dayton,
More than 40,000.
Rudy Boschwitz. My parents, anytime they'd see an antique shop, they'd pull over and I'd run in.
When did it really start taking off?
When I got a job. Helps to have money to buy it.
Conservative principles work every time you put them into practice.
As the rest of the nation trains its eyes on convention speakers,
That's all I'm looking at.
Paul scans the crowd for delegate accessorizing.
I think there's something about people that want a souvenir. We want something to take home to remember that by. And thankfully, some people never throw this stuff away.
Which has allowed Paul to amass an encyclopedia's worth of American history on buttons.
You've got Teddy Roosevelt's visit to the Minnesota State Fair in 1910.
At which he famously said,
Speak softly and carry a big stick. This is my favorite piece. It pictures Teddy Roosevelt having dinner with Booker T. Washington. It was a huge scandal, especially in the South, that the president, Teddy Roosevelt, had invited a black man to dine at the White House. And now we've got a black president.
Guilty or not guilty?
and if you think mudslinging is new to politics, look what 1940s detractors had to say about Franklin Roosevelt's relationship with his wife, his son's rapid advancement in the military, even the way he talked.
That's how Franklin Roosevelt pronounced war. They're making fun of his accent, sure.
Suck it to me.
Suck it to me, suck it to me.
The events that are going on almost always end up on a button somehow.
Where's the beef?
Well, it was a famous Wendy's commercial.
Where's the beef?
Mandeville's got the beef.
One of the surest ways to increase a button's value? Get your candidate elected.
This is about a $500 pin.
Even better if history elevates him to greatness.
The vice president is about a $2,000 pin.
Good for Franklin Roosevelt and Ronald Reagan.
Right now, Bernie Sanders buttons are hot.
And bad for hard chargers like Sanders and Ross Perot, who come up short.
Back in the 90s, this was selling for 20, 30, 40 bucks. And now I get it on eBay for $2.
Ribbons carried political messages before the emergence of button technology.
Kinley and Hobart.
First seen in the 1896 presidential campaign.
And it became a national phenomenon, just like Beanie Babies. It was just everybody wanted buttons.
Not unlike what's happening on social media today.
Matter of fact, there's people now that are collecting these memes. You know, they drag it into a folder, and they'll tell the history too.
The oath of office next year
in this rancorous political season will end with some perspective from a man with his fingers on the buttons.
Everything works out. Always has.
Boyd Huppert, KARE 11 News, Eden Prairie.